Welcome to La Coruna in northern Spain, and for the third port on my Royal Caribbean Anthem of the Seas France and Spain cruise. And as I was going on an excursion to the Tower of Hercules lighthouse and to the Estrella Galicia Brewery tour, it was going to be an early start, and then go on the Estrella Galicia Brewery tour. So I decided to head to the cafe at 2:20 for a bit of breakfast. And after having a fil croissant and muffin, I was ready to face the day. I then grabbed a bottle of water before heading off the ship. And thankfully the weather forecast was for the day to brighten up after a wet start. Now the main focus of the excursion was to visit the Estrella Galicia Brewery, although there was going to be one stop along the way so we could see one of the most popular sites here in La Coruna, which is the Tower of Hercules. And one of the things I find most striking is how the vernacular in northern Spain is so different to the one in southern Spain. So much of the colour palette here is monochrome. But I did wonder if that would change as I explore the area more. And after about 20 minutes we were at the Tower of Hercules, which is the oldest functioning lighthouse in the world. And if you'd like to come here from the cruise port on your own steam, it's probably around about a 45-minute walk. The lighthouse was constructed in the 1st century by the Romans. The exterior of the building was then renovated over 3 years from 1788 and was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2009. We were only allocated 15 minutes here, which really wasn't enough time to head inside, but should I come back to La Coruna, it will definitely be high on my list. And once back on board the bus, we were headed off to the brewery. And of course, if you don't wish to do the excursion, you can visit the factory on your own. You can purchase tickets online before you travel, and by taxi it'll take about 15 minutes from the port. And it wasn't too long until we were outside the factory. And then I was heading inside to the Mega Mundo Estrella Galicia tour. And a visit here comprises of 8 different stages. And the first of these starts at the very beginnings and the origins of beer. And it was great to read that beer is actually food, and that the brewery was founded in 1906. And they explain the 6 points of the brewery star which features on every bottle of their beers. And then there's an animated potted history of brewing. Which shows the development of beer from ancient times to when Jose Maria Riviera Corral established the brewery. And in the second area, we learn about the raw materials that go into making beer. And especially the importance of water. 80% of world lagers sold in British supermarkets are actually brewed in the UK. Which is one of the main reasons why those beers don't taste the same as they do back in their original countries. And then you get to learn about the different types of hops and where they come from. And you can pour some pellets into your hands so you can smell them for yourself.
Here it is. Look. The 6-pointed star has been since the Middle Ages the emblem of our guild, and its presence a guarantee of authentic quality beer.
And in this room there's a copper mash tuns and fermenters. This is where the barley and water are mashed, and then the subsequent wort is then boiled. And then the hops and the yeast are added to this. And this is where you learn about wort, which is the resultant liquid from the brewery process, although there's been no fermentation, so it's still not a beer and there's no alcohol. Although if you want to see what this tastes like, you can do that here. And once this liquid has undergone fermentation, it becomes young beer, and you can also try that. And I will point out that this is how they brewed their beer historically. The modern and highly advanced brewery is next door, but is unfortunately the only part of the tour where you're not allowed to record or take any photographs. Which is understandable because there are obviously people there at work. And over on this wall is where you can see all the advertising that this brewery has produced over the years, along with their sponsorship deals in MotoGP and Formula 1. And they've even got their own bar. And of course, a brewery tour wouldn't be complete without having to try some of the fantastic beers. And as the tour comes to an end, you exit via the gift shop, which sells a large variety of merchandise and souvenirs to remind you of your trip here. Overall, I felt that the tour of the brewery was fantastic. If you're someone that's interested in how beer is created, or you just like the taste of beer, then I highly recommend this tour. But now it's time to head back to the ship and to spend the rest of the day in A Coruña. And the good news was that the clouds had started to clear and the sun was starting to shine through. And A Coruña is on a promontory, which means that on one side you've got the harbour and the other side you have the beach. The Playa de Reza beach is about a 10-minute walk away from the harbour. And this is also one of the main shopping areas here. And it's just a gentle uphill slope until you hit the beach. Now this cruise itinerary isn't particularly blessed with good beaches. If you're looking for somewhere just to chill out for a few hours, then this could well be the place to do it. The beach was absolutely stunning and we had the entire place to ourselves. And in the distance and to the left is the Millennium Obelisk, which was constructed to celebrate the birth of the new millennium. And while this was lovely to come and see, there was still more to do here. It was now time to head back down towards the harbour. And I've got no idea if A Coruña gets any busier than this, but when I was there, it was pretty much quiet. Now, one thing I really wanted to do was explore this beautiful harbour. And I also wanted to get some photos of the front of the ship, which can actually be quite tricky in some European ports. And the colour palette here did seem a lot brighter. Or was that a bit of an optical illusion, as the clouds had blown away and the sun was now out and it was a perfect summer's day? And I thought that these two buildings were probably the prettiest here. And this looked like a really nice spot to sit down and have these views across the harbour. And for me to take another view of Royal Caribbean's beautiful Anthem of the Seas. And also here is Monumento Virgen de Carmen, which is a beautiful statue of the Virgin Mary with baby Jesus. And in the distance is Castello de Santo Anton, which is a 16th century fortress that's open to the public, and I'll definitely be going there should I come to A Coruña again. I had a really good day here and there was far more to do than I had anticipated. And it was now time to get back on board the ship. And I headed up to my balcony to watch sail away. But I couldn't stay here for too long as I booked a trip up in the Northstar. And the Northstar is a unique feature on Royal Caribbean Quantum class ships. and the best way to describe the Northstar is that it's a large glass pod on top of a mechanical arm. And upon entering the pod, the arm will then lift you up high above the ship and can also pass you from side to side. And this is available as a paid extra on sea days. But you, my eagle-eyed viewers, will know that this wasn't a sea day. Royal Caribbean do offer a free Northstar experience on port days. This is a shorter version because the pod will only lift up and down and it won't go from side to side. But if you're quick off the mark the previous night, you can actually book the in-port experience while you're out at sea. This was honestly one of the most amazing experiences I've had on board a ship. And if you're on a ship with a Northstar aboard, I would highly recommend you take the opportunity to have this experience. And after all that excitement, I decided to head to the solarium to chill out. Which was the perfect location as we booked to go to the Solarium Bistro for dinner this evening. And you're quite right, I did say that I had to book even though this restaurant is complimentary. Although the food here is very good, so it's worth making the effort. And it's pretty much a tapas style buffet, as it has a good selection of small plates to choose from. But what I really like is that this has a really laid back atmosphere, which was worlds apart from the madness of the main Windjammer buffet. Firstly, I had a bread roll and some cold meats, followed by a prawn cocktail and calamari. For my main, I went for grilled salmon and grilled snapper, and both of these were excellent. And tonight's entertainment was a magician in the Royal Theatre. I'm not usually a fan of magicians, but in actual fact this guy was pretty funny.
It's staged to save the alcohol. Cindy, the third glass. Grab my balls. They're in the bag, Cindy. But thanks for thinking about it.
If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on.